I worked for a small firm, worked for all different kinds of size firms. And then I've actually spent about the last 12 years in sales training and sales leadership for both Wolters Kluwer and Bloomberg B&A. So that's really where I fell in love with sales, and that's really where all this started. So we'll be talking about why you should be using a CRM and some tips on if you're just getting started with this, some ideas for you to use it and see an immediate impact on your firm. So I know Nathan has a little bit of upfront stuff he has to talk about, so I'll let him jump back in and then we'll dive into it.
Okay, awesome. If you can go to the next slide.
Oh, yeah. I'm in control, guys. Yeah. This is scary.
And Ty, she also did a previous webinar with us. It was key building blocks for an advisory practice. And we can actually send you the recording of that one if you would like as well. And she has another one coming up with us later down the road. I don't think we have a topic for that yet, but be on the lookout for that one too. So a little housekeeping. Typically, if you've joined one of our webinars before, it's more of a podcast style, but today it will be just Ty kind of talking, and we'll step in here and there. We have Val and Talos with us as well. We are part of the Zoho CPA partner team. And really, if you go to that zoho.com/CPA, it's for accountants and bookkeepers and CPAs, where you can become, join our partner team over here at Zoho. And we would like you to kind of just go check it out, see if it's the right fit for you and your firm. And I wanted to kind of talk about Showtime and what it has to offer. So if you look at the left-hand side, you'll see all those sections. And we have the question section, the chat box as well. And the chat is really used just for you to kind of tell us, hey, you can't hear us, Ty's blurry, or the vision's blurry, or the slides aren't moving or something. And the questions box is where you ask specific questions to Ty. It can be about Zoho or about the partner program or about what Ty is talking about. And throughout the presentation, I'll be launching poll questions. And those are for anyone who's trying to receive a CPE credit, which this webinar does qualify for 1 CPE credit. In order to receive that CPE credit, you will need to stay till the end of the presentation. At the very end, do not close out because there will be an evaluation. You'll need to answer that. And anybody else who's attending is free to answer that evaluation. It helps us kind of have better webinars in the future, just because we kind of listen to the feedback and we kind of shape our webinars to that feedback. And you'll need to answer 3 out of those 4 polling questions. And then from that, that's all you need to do to get the CPE credit. And I think we're ready to go, Ty.
Perfect. So as we jump into this, if you guys have questions, throw them in the questions box. I'll try to keep an eye on it. But what I normally try to do is grab those when we jump into the polling questions and try to answer them then. So I'm excited to get into this topic with you all. And I've got my chat open on the other screen. So one of the things as we get started is I'd like to actually ask you guys to give me an answer in the chat. It's not a polling question, just seeing where we're at. Are you looking to implement a CRM? Have you started? Do you have one? Do you not even know what a CRM is and you're here to learn that? It just helps set the stage for where we're going and helps me answer some questions. So if you don't mind, throw that in the chat real quick and I'll just see where everybody is. Use Zoho. Awesome. Looking at Zoho right now. Perfect. So we've got some people with Zoho, some people just starting. Awesome. So I am a big believer in accounting firms using a CRM. I come, like I said, from a sales background. I've worked with some pretty big sales organizations, and it was really eye-opening going back into the coaching of accountants area, which we do at the sales seat. We do everything about all around sales, but the CRM is one of the things that I've become really passionate about, because business development is one of those things that when accountants get started, they struggle with it, and it's very overwhelming, and a lot of people give up way too early. And part of that is they don't understand what they're supposed to be doing. They don't have any metrics. They don't know if things are working. And that's one of the ways a CRM can help accounting firms. And we'll talk about others as we go through the session today. So Before we really even jump into the way a CRM helps accounting firms, I really do like to just set the stage, start with the very basics, and define what a CRM is and does. And by definition, your CRM stands for your Customer Relationship Manager or Customer Relationship Management System. So if you Google the definition of a CRM, you are going to get thousands, if not millions, of different definitions. But basically, it's a technology that helps you manage your firm's interactions with your past, present, and potential customers so that it can help you support your growth goals and retention. We're going to talk a little bit about Zoho as we go through the session today, but CRMs come in all different forms, many different vendors. They can be simple, incredibly complex. And to me, I think that's one of the reasons why accounting firms are just now starting to embrace this technology and using it for the benefit in their firm, because they don't really know where to get started. And I actually, in our training that we do in our business development coaching, we have a 12-month program that we do. We actually use Zoho in our training because I think it's super simple, super straightforward, and just really one of the easiest to use. And it allows you to jump in and get started with that. So let's talk a little bit about the history of CRMs, just to kind of give you a baseline. CRMs haven't been around too terribly long. They really, the idea of it just started in the 70s. And this is when companies started using customer satisfaction surveys, and they were looking to evaluate what their customers thought of their business. But at that point, the only real way to measure it was through spreadsheets and through lists. And it was really only in 1986 that the first CRM technology called ACT was released. And it was built really based on the principle of like a digital Rolodex. But that started the trend to develop CRM systems. And then over the last 40 years, these systems have been enhanced, and they're tailored now for specific industries like Zoho's is for the CPA market. But the main driver has always been a way to track the customer and the prospect data so that you can make better sales and marketing and retention and business decisions for your now accounting firm. So some of the specific components that make up a CRM are your data warehousing technology. That's going to give you some different KPIs, and that's what's going to be able to help you analyze some of the data. Opportunity management is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. It helps you track your pipelines and sales forecasts so you can plan your revenue more accurately. It allows the ability to track marketing campaigns and analyze customer and prospect interactions on those. And the contact management allows you to keep every contact there, every interaction you have with your client in one place, which is huge. So it's funny, I started looking to see, what industries use CRMs the most, because I was trying to wrap my brain around why accountants are really just starting to embrace this. And I personally believe every business should be using a CRM to track this information. And I saw a study that detailed out the top industries that use a CRM. And one of the ways that I think everyone can relate to is the top industry, which will come as no surprise, is retail industry. So, think about any purchase you make at a retail location. Let's say you go to Target and you use your Target card. All of your customer information is being tracked. Think about how much that easier is when I have to go return something. I don't need the receipt. They've got all that information stored. It makes life easier on me as a customer. And that's one of the things you want to look for in a CRM. But then you also have to think on the flip side. Think about how much information they now have about your buying trends. You see these ads pop up on Facebook, you see, your emails come in that, have promotions on something you were just looking at, or, all that different type of stuff. All this information is valuable to them so that they can tailor their marketing to what they think is going to be best for you based on your history. And that's something that accountants can do as well. The second largest industry is business services. And to me, that was interesting because that's what accounting really should fall into. So accounting should fall into the second largest industry using a CRM. And so it's interesting that accountants are just starting to embrace this. So when you look at how these CRM systems can help you make better business decisions based on your insight, it makes complete sense that we need to embrace this as accountants, and we need to start using it to make better business decisions for us. All right. And I got to remember to keep up with it. All right. So CRMs, when you start looking at these, they can be categorized really into 4 different types. You've got strategic, you've got operational, you've got analytical, and you've got collaborative. The one that you all want to look for is a strategic CRM, and that's really what Zoho is. That's because your strategic CRMs are the ones that are developed and focused around building a customer-centric business culture. You know, you're not really using a CRM to collaborate with different vendors and you're not selling goods. This isn't something necessarily that you're going to go back and forth with shareholders of companies, right? So what you want to focus on is strategic. And I mean, as accountants, the core of our business is clients. So finding a CRM that's going to help you better service your clients really should be the number one consideration as you start, talking about CRMs. So knowing what you know now, the real question is why in the world would accounting firms not use a CRM system? You hear day in and day out how firms want to become more client-centric, and we want to focus on relationships. We've got to add value. We've got to build loyalty. We've got to make sure our clients are tied into us so they don't go looking for someone to do the work cheaper. When you rely on your own memory, it's going to be too hard to provide the level of service your clients need. I can't even tell you what I had for breakfast. So remembering that I need to contact someone in 3 months is not something that I'm going to be able to do. And so that reliance on memory and time is so daunting, and that's the reason so many fail. So when you use a CRM system, you can stay on top of your initiatives, and you can utilize the technology that's available there to support you in these endeavors. So what I want to talk about first are 3 specific ways that accountants can use CRMs in their firm. Okay. So the first one is data management. And this is really the main reason accountants should use a CRM system. One of the biggest keys to delivering successful client service is knowing information about your client. So if you don't have a place to house all of your information now, that's going to be a big problem. But most people, they do have a lot of information stored. Most of the time it's in their time and billing software, or it's in some other type of software that you're using in-house. But that information being in something like time and billing doesn't really do much good for someone who's trying to build a relationship. Your CRM is going to let you store that client contact information and personal data and your interactions, everything you need. So maybe you want to track your clients' birthdays so you can send them all birthday cards. I mean, everybody's doing that now. But maybe you want to go a step further and you want to develop a little more personal relationship and you want to remember some important information. Maybe your client opens up and tells you about their wedding anniversary, or maybe that they're expecting their first child in 6 months, or maybe your client is someone who has a big celebration for the anniversary of their business each year. If it's left up to your memory, it's highly unlikely that you're going to remember to wish someone a happy anniversary or send them a baby gift, because we all have way too much to remember. But if your client is one that really, it really makes a big deal out of that anniversary, you remembering each year the anniversary of their business is going to be something that sticks out to them, and it's going to be going the extra mile. And using a CRM system, it makes stuff like that easy. So once you know that information, you just put it in the CRM and you set tasks to remind you of anything that you need to remember. Secondary to all this information, it's going to be a great place to track all of your conversations. That's whether it's an email or notes from a phone call or a meeting. People think that I am crazy, but I track everything and I write everything down. And it's, if I talked to someone recently that was telling me how they were hoping to get back into flying, that was their passion, and they were going to take some more lessons on that. And I just thought that was so cool. And we talked about it for such a long time. And I made a point to put it in my notes. And it was funny because when I went to reach back out, it was months later. So I actually had a conversation a while ago. But when I went to reach back out, I saw that in my notes. I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to ask him if he got back into flying. I would truly probably would not have remembered that, left it to my own accord, because I just don't, we all have so much on our minds, but leaving those little nuggets, leaving a trail for yourself is going to help you really personalize the experience you have with your clients. So the bottom line is, when you use your CRM for data management, you need to house all of the important information about your clients and prospects so that you can improve your communication quality and you can have it more frequent and more efficient. And I'm talking with my hands a lot today, so I apologize.
Hey, Ty, before we move on, I'm going to go ahead and launch the first polling question.
Oh, well, it doesn't really make sense until we get to the slide 10.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I'm afraid it's kind of all based on this. I'm sorry. Is that okay?
You already launched it, but yeah, next time go ahead and tell me when you would like me to launch the next polling question, okay?
Okay, I will. Do we need to relaunch it?
I already launched it. People are answering because...
Just talk them through it, Ty.
Yeah, well, you can talk through it, yeah. So which of the three ways to use a CRM would be the most beneficial to your firm? That's the question.
Well, you just heard data management, and we'll talk about opportunity management and client service in just a second. But we touched on it a little bit. Opportunity management has a lot to do with forecasting revenue, and client service is really about the experience that your clients and prospects have using that data. We'll talk about it in just a second. Nathan, I have the triggers in the...
Okay. All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just a comment, folks. We had a question about Zoho CRM Begin and using Constant Contact. Begin is CRM Lite. Zoho CRM is going to be a full functioning CRM with all kinds of custom fields and integration of books and things like that. So it just depends on what you want to use, like just a contact management. That'd be like CRM Lite, like Begin. Zoho CRM, the key thing there is the deep integration with tools like Zoho Campaign. So rather than using Constant Contact, if you have a Zoho license with Zoho CRM and Campaigns, you can use those, and they're directly integrated and will work really well for you. In my prior organization, getting into CRM was a big deal for us, and we were actually using Constant Contact, and that was one of the reasons we went over to pretty much a full Zoho house, was because of the integration with Campaigns. Campaigns is a great tool for mail campaigns and works integrated right into Zoho CRM.
Ty, you should be good to go now.
Okay, are we good to go?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. No, you're fine. Okay, let me see. Making sure questions are good. Finally, Joel got audio. Thank you, Joel. I'm glad it worked out. All right, so we talked about data management. You saw opportunity management in the poll. So we want to talk a little bit about that. And this is one of the ways that I think makes such a big difference on accounting firms, because in addition to the data management, your firms are able to track all of the prospecting and new revenue opportunities in the firm. And this really covers a few different areas. So one of the things that the pipeline management does is it allows the firms to understand forecasting and pipeline management. And what that means is when everyone in the business development process is utilizing a CRM to track their opportunities with potential clients, what it does is it takes all of those opportunities, and based on where it is in the process, it assigns a percentage. So you may have $1 million of opportunities that the firm's working as in total, but it's not realistic you're going to sign all $1 million worth of clients. So what this allows you to do is it automates the process of assigning those percentages and figuring out what's realistic that you're going to have coming in, and making sure that you have better data to go off of. And we'll talk about what you can do with that in a little bit. But outside of those leadership level reportings, it also helps you stay on top of each opportunity. So you can track your tasks in those CRMs and automate some of those processes. And let's say that you've been in talks with a prospect and they told you, they're actually open to a conversation, but they've got a big project coming up and they want you to circle back in 2 months to start the conversation. You can use your CRM to either set the task to remind you to reach back out to that person, or you can actually automate that process in some way to do that outreach as well. Additionally, when you manage your opportunities in your CRM, you should be tracking those conversations so that when the time comes to move forward in the process, you have all of those notes from those previous conversations in one place, which is going to make it easier for you to prepare for the meeting. And then the third big initiative in terms of utilizing the CRM in the firm is for client service. And this is where it all kind of comes together. And if you're tracking all your data and you're tracking your opportunities, then you're going to be able to pull some pretty significant client insights and KPIs from your platform. So when all your client data is in that central repository, you can find trends in your clients that will help you provide greater service. Maybe, you're having to do outreach on the same topic a lot. Maybe there's gaps in your communication that you can automate or add into the process. It's also going to be able to make you more proactive in your outreach, and it's going to help you tailor that communication you send to your clients. So the CRM is going to give you insight into market segments that are more lucrative than others. And it's also going to help you know where to focus your efforts. So we just did our first polling question. And so now we can actually jump into, we talked about the 3 initiatives that accounting firms can use a CRM for. Let me talk about some specific ways that you can use your CRM when you get this in place. So these that we're going to talk about are not by any means all encompassing, but I really just want to give you a couple ideas of ways that you can use the CRM that you're either looking at or have in place to start the process. CRMs a lot of times are big animals, and one of the most important things that I will challenge you to do for those of you that are looking at these or implementing them is think about what areas that you really need to see immediate improvements on your processes, and then make a long-term plan for how to use the platform, because it's a lot at once, and a lot of times a staggered approach can help you generate the buy-in you need from the individuals in your firm to make it a long-term success. So the first way to use a CRM that we're going to talk about is the way to enhance your personalized relationship with your clients and prospects. So we talked a lot about this, but think about all of the clients that you've had over the course of your career. How many people have you touched? It's been thousands. Think about your current clients. How much personal information do you know on each one of those? With client service and relationships and loyalty being probably the hottest topic right now in accounting, you're not going to be able to provide that without some serious help and some back-end support. And that's the main point of a CRM, to help you build your customer relationships. It's a place to not only store the information, but automate some of that relationship building process. So let's start. We'll break this down by how you can do it for prospects and how you can do it for clients. So first, let's think about the prospects. Hopefully, you have quite a few prospects in your pipeline that you guys are consistently working to build trust and relationships so that you can eventually convert them into clients. The problem is, which I know all of you know, some of these prospects could take months or even years to convert. So how are you going to remember every interaction with them? Let's say that you meet someone from a business that you want to bring in as a client. Maybe you're at a networking event and everybody's talking freely and you're really having a great time, and they give you a ton of insight as to what they do now, maybe some of the things they're struggling with or some of their frustrations. We've all seen that come out in easy conversations, and maybe some of the things that are going well, but maybe that person isn't in a position to make the move for the company, or maybe that person knows that the company isn't ready to make a move, but it really is a good prospect. So let's say maybe you don't make contact with them again for another year. Normally what people have to do at that point is start the process all over again. You've forgotten what you talked about. You've forgotten those conversations. Maybe you remember bits and pieces. But when you have all of that information, all your notes, all your conversations, all your communications stored in a CRM, when you pick that conversation back up, you're already informed. And it's interesting because what you'll see is when you're able to reference that conversation from a year ago or even 2 years ago, your prospect thinks you've been thinking about them. And it really makes them feel important instead of having to say, okay, so I know we talked last year. Let's just start from the beginning and see where we need to go. If you can reference those conversations, it makes a big deal in being able to move forward. And not having to start over builds trust, and it's going to help you move that prospect forward. Now, I know not all prospective clients work that way, but so much valuable information gets lost in our email. I'm one of those crazy people that, on your phone, you either have no unread messages or 10,000, and I'm a 10,000 person. It's 10,307 we looked at last night. So much information gets lost because there's so many different ways of communication, and we forget conversations. So another thing that tracking this can help is if you meet someone at a networking event and you're really excited, it's a great prospect, and you're excited to try to win their business, but maybe you get back to work and you look in your CRM, you could find that someone else in the firm has already been working with a different connection at the same business. Now, it prevents two people from, going at odds over the same business, allows you to work together, and it prevents some of that miscommunication. You just have to think about it this way. If the entire firm embraces your CRM system, then you have access to all of the communication from others in the office. And this type of centralized data makes any business development initiatives so much more efficient and personalized. So let's think about it from the client perspective. And really the same can be said for client service to your current clients. It's so helpful when your entire firm is using the CRM because that communication is housed centrally. And maybe you have staff that might be sending emails. Maybe you have managers that have some communications. Think about how much easier it would be to be able to prepare for a meeting if you could easily reference those notes from your last conversation. You can reference the notes from any conversation anyone else in the firm has had. This helps you have a better conversation with those clients and provide better client service. It helps you prepare, and it also helps you tailor the conversation and provide that personalized touch. So I pulled just a little screenshot from Zoho, and this brings in your lead information. It gives you some information about their industry, where the lead source came for. And then as you scroll down through here, as you're working through Zoho, there's places to track all these communications. There's ways to track the emails as Val mentioned, and it really is going to help you build those personal relationships. All right, the second way is it's going to make your communication much more efficient. Every business struggles with staying front of mind of clients and prospects. I feel like we talked a little bit about emails, but I feel like right now we are in a world where you're always reading emails, you're always getting phone calls, you're seeing text, you're on social media. The communication channels are all around us, and they never, ever, ever seem to turn off. So as much as you're taking that in, your clients are taking that in as well. So it's incredibly important that you stay in front of the communication with your clients and prospects. And again, it is virtually impossible to remember every email that needs to be sent out, every phone call that needs to be made without some back-end support. And that's really where your CRM is going to bring a ton of value. When you add in automated communications, you can make sure that you're never going to miss an opportunity with a prospect. You're never going to miss an opportunity to build trust with clients, and in turn, make their end user experience so much easier. So, how do we do this with prospects? Well, if you're trying to cast a wide net and work with a lot of prospects to bring in new business, it can be exhausting, and it truly can be ineffective if you don't automate at least part of the process. Part of converting that lead into a client is through a nurture process where you have to provide value and trust. I know you guys have all been there. You can't just find someone on LinkedIn and, oh, great, they'd be a great client for our firm. I'm just going to call them up and see if they'd be interested in letting us do their work. They don't know you. They don't like you. They don't trust you. It's no offense, but that's part of the process to move a prospective client into an actual client. And so if every day you had to think about what to send prospects and who to email and when, you would never get any work done. This is the number one reason why so many people give up in business development, because it's an overwhelming process. So it's not to say that I want you to take the personal interaction out of nurturing prospects. You have to have those actual conversations with them, but you can easily stay front of their mind by sending prospects valuable information on an automated schedule using that CRM integration that Val talked about earlier. This helps to efficiently qualify your prospects. It also helps to warm them up, and it makes sure that you're front of mind when they're ready to convert. All right. Another really great way to improve your communication using a CRM is to streamline the onboarding process of new clients. So when a new client comes on board with you, think about what type of process you have now. You have to get them signed up. You have to get their personal information. You have to get prior year information. You have to make sure you're introducing them to the team, and the list goes on and on. The beauty of a CRM is that you can help automate this process by building workflows that could include anything from emails to tasks, and essentially create a step-by-step process that walks both you and your client through the process efficiently and in its entirety. I mean, this is one of the best ways that firms can utilize a CRM to getting people on board and making sure nothing is missed in the onboarding process. Now, if you don't have a streamlined process now, this is going to make a huge impact. But if you do have a streamlined process, that's fine. The CRM is just going to help you automate that process, and it's going to eliminate any gaps in communication. Plus, when you do it through the CRM and you have all this communication stored there, you're going to have that information at your fingertips in the CRM in the future. So just a quick picture. This is a little bit on the welcome email. So what you can do is you set up these workflows, and it's a huge, huge time saver. And it takes the mental process out of this and the manual checklist, and it really can incorporate everything that you need to do as you go through the onboarding process. All right. The third way that you can use a CRM to actually improve your processes in your firm is through brand building. And brand building is an incredibly powerful way for you to incorporate your CRM into your firm. Traditionally, accounting firms aren't really known for marketing initiatives other than networking and sponsorship. That has changed so much over the past 5 to 10 years, but it's something that can always be improved upon. And with there being so much more remote engagement, there are tremendous opportunities to use a CRM to help accounting firms build their brand image. So, do we have a question? No? Okay. Okay, sorry, just heard a little background noise. All right, so with your prospects, one way that a CRM can help you with your prospects is with the ability to tag your prospective clients according to their interest. So you shouldn't stop at managing the data and just putting in the information, putting in the bare minimum. The more information that you can put in the CRM about your clients and your prospects, that's what's going to help you tailor the communication. You know, if you have someone tagged as a prospective client that is interested in CFO services, If you have another prospective client that's interested, that's working in the construction industry, there's different, you've got to think about services, you've got to think of industries, different ways that you can tag your clients and group them so that the communications that you send to your clients are more customized, your prospects. And when you customize those communications, you're able to build a brand image with that prospect that really aligns your vision with their needs. And when you have these insights tagged in your CRM, you can also use that communication to differentiate your brand and define your brand and really build that know, like, and trust for your prospects.
Ty, are you coming up on a poll again?
Probably
need another poll. And while you're looking at that, let me just comment about this, essentially a custom field or, key information you're using and storing. And that's how it really sets you apart with your brand, with your customers. In our little firm, we started this by building our own database of customers. And we had things like, what was the last gift we gave them? What college are they big in supporting the area? Additional notes. It made a huge difference when we would go back and talk to customers. It was like people were like, you remember that stuff? Wow, you guys really care about me. And we're like, yeah, we do, but we're kind of cheating in a way, cheating on the back end because we're keeping that information. But it really helped us stand out as a small firm, and the firm just exploded. I'm very pleased to say I've been gone from that firm for probably 20 years, and they're still just doing terribly well. And a lot of that was due to the technology used at the time and the way we engaged customers differently than many other firms in the Valley.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And we're not quite to a poll, but you're welcome to start it. It does talk about some of the things we're getting ready to talk about, but it'd probably be another little bit. So if you want to throw it up, you're welcome to.
No, go ahead, Ty. Get up to your topic and then we'll throw the poll there. Sorry.
Gosh, sorry. I was just sorry. All right. Okay. So as we're talking about brand building, really along the lines of what Val just said, you really should not stop tagging the interests of your prospects, but understanding the interests of your clients helps you tailor that communication. It helps them think that you care about them, know that you care about them. I mean, I know Val said, you're kind of cheating by keeping that, but you care enough to want to remember, to want to make those notes so you can remember. And so I think, as much as it is cheating, we all have to do it. I mean, my husband still writes down our anniversary. I still have to remind him. And that's more important than our clients. So, you have to write things down to remember. Not a big deal. All right. So just a quick screenshot of where you would do this right here. In Zoho, you add your tag. They need taxes done, need payroll. You can put in any custom field. There's a lot of different ways that you can track this information in Zoho. From there, talking a little bit about client insights. I mentioned earlier, once you have all this information in one place, it's not enough to just have it there. You want to analyze that data. And as your firm continues to grow, these insights help you make better business decisions and guide you to better productivity and growth. So one of the things that I really love as we get into business development side of it and what the CRM can do for you is you nurture a lead. The CRM can do two things. One, it can give you insight into how engaged your prospect, and in the same respect, your clients are with you, which in turn helps you understand where they are in the decision process, in the relationship, because your CRM should be able to tell you when your prospect engages with an email that you sent. It can help you see interactions on your website as well as on social media through different integrations. And imagine having that insight when you're trying to sign on a new client. Let's say that they're extremely engaged with your business and you can see these insights, but they aren't moving as fast as you hoped. You can at least feel better to know that they're still engaged and you can continue the conversation. Additionally, one of the really fabulous ways is as you continue to work these leads, you can start getting insights onto what lead channels are providing you the greatest number of leads, as well as the highest number of conversions. That helps you figure out where to spend your time. I mean, that is such a huge thing. We don't have time to go out there and keep doing more business development. We still have work to do. So the more you can add in efficiency, the better. And this is one of the ways that can help you figure out where to spend your time. Additionally, client insights are just as important. It's going to help you see profitability as well as areas of opportunity for your clients. So the more you are able to segment your clients and see different trends, the better you're able to service your clients. And it might give you insights into how to streamline your services, or it might give you insights into new marketing ideas. This is one example of how we've tracked that on our end in terms of, leads by source. You can see which ones get the most and where you should spend the most of your time. So the more data you have in here, the better information you get out of it. And the last section is really pipeline and growth management. And like I said, this is one of the most challenging ways for accountants to embrace a CRM. And it's not because of what the pipeline is, because accountants, for the most part, understand the math behind it, but it isn't something that's traditionally tracked this way in most firms. So the pipeline measures, as you remember, the potential revenue based on your opportunities that you're currently working with your prospective clients. So how does this work with prospects? Well, this is a big deal because tracking your pipeline is crucial to understanding your potential growth from new clients. And the key to using this effectively is to getting everybody on board with the CRM and they're tracking their activity. If just partners, I've seen this at so many firms, just partners use the CRM. And yes, you can get a good view into opportunities that they're currently working, but what about everybody else? What about some up and comers that you have in your firm? If you task them to start developing new business, you have to see what they're working to. How are you going to coach your future leaders or help them become good at this if you don't have any insight into their processes? And the CRM is going to give you insight into their strengths and weaknesses and help you coach. And secondary to that is thinking about how well you're staffed. If you have a significant amount of new business potential, this helps you plan for staffing and workload when you know what's coming. I see so many firms that don't track this information and they find themselves in reactive mode because they realize they're understaffed for the amount of work that's coming in. And that's one of the big benefits, is being able to plan for that. The CRM also helps you identify upsell and cross-selling opportunities for current clients, because when you track the work and your interactions, you can better understand what additional needs the clients have, where they could benefit from additional services, or look for trends. And this is really an example of what that pipeline might look like. You may have a ton of information in there, but it throws the amounts in based on the percentages at each stage to give you a realistic view of what you would get. And that brings us to question 2. I know we've been excited to get there.
Yeah, here, I'll go ahead and launch it, Ty. And just a reminder, if you want to receive a CPE, you have to answer 3 out of the 4 polling questions. And Ty, just a reminder for you, you have about 60 more minutes. Just a heads up.
I got you. I don't have much more after this.
Okay.
We need to get 2 questions in if we can, Ty. So hustle.
Hey, let me tell you something. You guys are going to be shocked. I've only got a little bit.
I know. Here we go. Let's roll.
Right.
All right. We're ready. All right. So as we come to the end of this, I just want to wrap it up with some of the key considerations for you guys to think about when implementing and choosing a CRM, because it is so overwhelming when you look at each of the additional ones. All right. So the first thing, we talked about enhancing personal relationships, efficient communication, brand building, client insights, pipeline management. You need to take a step back and figure out what your biggest pain point is. There's so many ways a CRM can impact your business, but you want to think about what needs to be addressed now and what you would like down the road. Make sure that the CRM you choose has all of the capabilities that can scale with you so you can stick with it long term. Additionally, it's important to look at both the internal and external experience when you evaluate the CRM. If your CRM is going to have client access points where they give you information or different communication methods, think about how your client experiences this. Look at that, because any client experience you want to be simple, straightforward, and bring value to them. That's the whole point of it. And additionally, you want to look at how well the CRM fits in with your current processes, because the easier a CRM is to use for your employees and the more value it provides them, the more likely it is that they're going to embrace the platform and stick with this long term. All right. The third thing to think about is your onboarding and support options. Unless you have IT professionals on staff, which you still are going to need good support as well, but it's going to be important that the CRM you choose helps provide support to not only get you set up, but that you get set up in the best way to provide value to your firm. Those customizations, all that different type of stuff, you want to make sure it's set up right and that they have the ability to get that support. All right. Fourth, you want to think about what it integrates with. Does it integrate with any of your current software providers? Any of those integrations, like Val mentioned earlier, with Zoho integrations, with other platforms that you use, it helps to streamline all of the processes and it makes it easier on the end user and those that are implementing. So at the very least, you want to make sure it integrates with email, but other platforms like Dropbox, G Suite, LinkedIn, or any other platform that you use that can integrate can help optimize the use of your new CRM. And lastly, we want to think about the customizations you might need in your CRM to make it work for you. Typically, a straightforward out-of-the-box CRM system, it might do the job initially, but usually that one-size-fits-all is not the best for your business long-term. You might want to add certain fields in the platform, like Val mentioned, to track information about your clients. You might want to customize the way your dashboard looks, which I know Zoho does a great job of, or you might want to customize the steps in your sales process on the platform. In any of these scenarios, it's important to understand the flexibility of the CRM you choose so that it can scale with you long-term. And I told you guys I would be quick. There is our third polling question.
All right, I'll go ahead and launch that. All right, Ty, you can as people answer, you can go ahead and continue.
Well, that was it. So I was actually going to wrap it up at this point. My contact information's on the screen. The goal of today's session was to give you ideas of why accounting firms need a CRM and how you can use it to improve the processes in your firm. So hopefully you took away some ideas and some ways to get started and things to think about as you're considering a CRM. And if you have any questions or anything after the fact, my email and phone number on the screen, and I would be happy to answer anything.
Yeah, Ty, and I'll go ahead and launch our the last polling question, which is just really asking if you'd like to be reached out by Sales Seed. And I did have a question for you. Have you had any experience? Can you kind of walk us through one of your experiences whenever you saw a client of yours that had no CRM system and you started to introduce them to some sort of system to keep track of clients and what that looks like?
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, a staggered approach is really makes the most sense. But even before you get there, I do think that sitting down, if you have someone that can walk you through a best practices, conversation, or what do you want now? What do you want down the road? And figure out what's most important and how you want to use it. Because getting that visualization of what you want the end result to be of using a CRM, that's usually where I start with clients that I work with. But then it's as you figure out those processes, you push out one thing and you start with the data management, right? Like you get everybody bought in, but people aren't going to continue to use it if they feel like it's just a task and they're just putting stuff in without getting anything out. So starting those automations and bringing out those KPIs and getting insights and tailoring conversations and giving them the ability to work with their clients better is where you really get the buy-in on the end result. Does that help, Nathan?
Yeah, and also I kind of wanted to point out as well that marketing and sales, it's not really, it's about being a people person and having, a way of with your words and everything, but a lot of it has to do with analytics and keeping track of what your clients need. So for example, whenever we try to reach out for these webinars, we look at analytics in order to advertise our webinars to the right group, the right target market. And if we kind of go away from that target market, it makes it a little bit more difficult to get attendees. And also the attendees, if they join, they might not be the right fit for, what we're talking about within that webinar.
Val, I don't know if you wanna jump in on this, but there's a question on, and you might have just answered it in there, but on whether or not you use CRM for workflow management, which I think are two really separate things. But I don't know if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, it really is two separate things. I tossed out at least one idea there. XCM solutions and what they do for detailed workflow for firms. We do have a workflow tool called Orchesley, but that would need to be kind of designed out from for each firm. You could get there, and it's a very visual workflow tool, and that could work. What you can do in Zoho CRM, though, is kind of keep a general sense. What do I mean by a general sense? Is this a tax client? Is this an audit client? Where do they stand? You could keep track of that easily in CRM. It's kind of everything completed, so you could put a custom field like, let's say that they're a tax client and an audit client, are they taken care of for this year? But then that's something like you come around the next year and you'd be resetting fields. Whereas a real workflow solution is going to know due dates. You're going to have stuff tracked. You're going to track workflow, like who's working on what, who's responsible for it, when it's due. So more sophisticated firm workflow, you're probably looking at something like XCM or other tools like that.
Good. And there's some people popping up in chat saying that they use some Zoho projects to track some workflow for clients as well. So
yeah, I hadn't thought of that one. That's a good comment too. Just hadn't thought of that on the top of my head. Yeah. And that could work for certain situations as well.
Yeah, the beauty of Zoho is it's so all-encompassing. There's something for everything. And I know that there's always been this discussion of like, keep it all in one house or get the best of breed. But it's nice when a vendor actually has best of breed in almost everything. So it makes a big difference.
Well, what we see a lot is a lot of firms struggle with the integration. I mean, if you go out and you tie together, even just tying together an XCM and like tax prep, like Walters Kluwer and stuff, even though they're so closely related and talk to each other a lot, that integration takes quite a bit of effort and stuff. Mm-hmm. Whereas, what we've got, generally the pipes are there. It's a matter of turning stuff on and off and configuring fields and moving stuff forward. I would say actually for a firm, probably the biggest stumbling block I would see for a firm doesn't have anything to do with the technology. It's actually the internal mindset. If the firm is not committed top to bottom, management all the way down, to use a solution, you got trouble. Often in firms, the biggest problem people are at the top. They want everyone else to use it, but they're not willing to learn to use it themselves. Or sometimes we see a key manager person, if you will, office manager person, who's just resistant to change and using their own system of keeping track of stuff. And they can often be a real big stumbling block. So it really kind of comes down to the internal mindset, the commitment of the firm. Folks, the technology is there. You can do this. It can be extremely successful. It really comes down to the dedication, communication, and also layout and design, like Ty's talked about. Don't overwhelm the system. Don't want to track, like 30 things per client. Pick out what really does matter to you to make all this work. What do you really need to know? Then go to your next, like, I want to know these things, but in the base start of all this, stay with really what you need to know and then add to it. That's right. I see a comment there. Crawl, walk, run. Absolutely. Don't go crazy out of the box because you can just overwhelm everybody. And I think you'll be very, very happy with what you get.
Yeah, and I think we have another question that came through. Oh, no, it's just kind of a statement.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Ty, thank you for joining us for this webinar and kind of presenting this idea of CRM for an accounting firm. We have her for a few more minutes. If anybody has any other questions, if not, we can go ahead and end the session.
Yep, we're good on NASBA credits and CPE. It's just a matter of if anybody's got a few other closing comments or questions. And folks, just to kind of let you know, like I said, our first CRM we built for our little firm was actually in DBase. And even back then, that worked so terribly well that we kept it for years and years and years. And then along came tools like ACT, like Ty talked about, and it's kind of turned the world upside down. And now there's some really sophisticated tools out there. So it's a matter of picking really what works best in your world.
Val, there's a question in here they're on Zoho Books. Is it easy to transfer data over to the Zoho CRM system?
Generally, you're talking about customers from Zoho Books into CRM?
It's Linda. Yeah, she said, I think so. Yeah. Yes.
Yep, pretty much. Our stuff's integrated. So it's a matter of deciding you want to do that and kind of opening the floodgate and turning the switch. And they will be available in CRM. There's a question here about any practical course on CRM. Yes, we've got a number of webcasts on CRM, and we'll probably be broadcasting some more of those soon. They'll have a lot more like Zoho CRM demos and stuff. Today, we want to stay with conceptual and ideas for a firm. So.
Well, if anybody has any questions that they don't want to put in the chat, you're welcome to reach out to me directly, and I'm sure Val too. And we're happy to answer anything we can. Reach out to Val if it's Zoho specific, and I can answer whatever I possibly can as well. And I just appreciate y'all taking the time. So I'll turn it back over to Nathan and Val to wrap it up.
Okay, well, thank you, Ty, and thanks for, like I mentioned earlier, doing this presentation. It really helps out a lot of accounting firms. And I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat. So if you would like to reach out to me about anything Zoho related, and like Ty mentioned, you can reach out to her as well. And like I mentioned earlier in the beginning, if you want to receive the CPE, please stay till the end. I'm going to end the session, and then evaluation will pop up. Don't exit out of the screen. Just go ahead and fill out that evaluation. And also, if you don't need a CPE and you would just like to fill out the evaluation, it helps us out a lot in future webinars. We really appreciate everybody's time. I appreciate Val and Tala as well. And Ty, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all. Everyone have a great day.
All right, bye, everyone.
Bye.